Candace Cooley, who is Dylan's mom, has been doing interviews on a couple different YouTube channels and news stations over the past week. And there's been some definite bombshells dropped. Let's get into it. So for those of you who don't know, Dylan Rounds is a 19-year-old farmer who is missing out of Utah. And he's been missing for about 5 months now. He was last heard from by his grandmother on May the 28th, very early in the morning, around 6:51 actually, when he called to let her know that it was raining and that he was rushing to go and get his grain truck into the shed so that his seed did not spoil in the rain. But what Miss Candace has told us here this week is that not only did Dylan call Grandma Karen, but he also called James Brenner right before. Now, this is pretty shocking information, to be honest. So when Candace first mentioned the phone call to James Brenner that morning, she assumed in this interview that it could have been for James Brenner to give him a ride home after parking the grain truck. But then in the other interviews, she talks about the gate. And the gate's been a discussion for a lot of different things in this case. He could have been calling James Brenner because he knew James was going to have to come out and lock the gate. Remember, Ed gave James permission to stay there and kind of take care of the property. So in that agreement, James had keys to stuff. Regardless, the reason why he called James Brenner doesn't even, to be honest, matter. The fact is, he did. Now, apparently, there's no talk of if James ever called Dylan back, which is a little interesting because he's claiming to have been at the property in his trailer all Friday and all morning and afternoon of Saturday until around 2:30 whenever he left to go meet Don for that little barbecue. And if Dylan called him before 6:51 in the morning, you're apparently awake and moving around by 2:30. You didn't call him back or text him to see what was up. They found both of Dylan's work boots behind a dirt pile, scattered apart. Now, we also know that Dylan's blood was on these boots. But now we also know that James Brenner's DNA is also on those boots. And let's also not forget that one of the detectives told Candace about it being Dylan's blood on the boots days before it was even sent off to the lab. So how he knew that little tidbit was going to be the actual outcome, I'd love to know. And you know how he's trying to explain his DNA away on those boots? By now admitting to being the one who put them behind the dirt pile. Yeah, he's claiming he found them in the shed, moved them from the shed to his camper trailer, then suddenly realized that Dylan's not coming back for these. There's no point in me just storing them here. And then tossing them behind the dirt pile, claiming that he hadn't seen Dylan in about 3 weeks to a month, which, according to Candace, would be a correct timeline for him stating the last time he saw Dylan. But why would you do that all in like one day? If you know that you hadn't seen him in forever and you live right there by that shed and you are in that shed all the time and you had never seen those boots there before ever and you just seen them and you know you had a phone call from him early on Saturday morning, wouldn't you have called him back? And on top of that, he's been contacting the family. Apparently Justin, Dylan's father, and his mom and dad have all three talked to James Brenner on the phone. And just like before, he's trying to point the finger to Chase and Robert, and Candace and Justin already have proof that they were nowhere even in the area. One of them is even on surveillance video at like several different fast food restaurants. It's no telling how horrible this guy's cholesterol is. Grandma Karen could only take so much. She talked to him for a little while and then ended up calling him out about all of the evidence against them that the family actually has, and he got quiet and said that he wasn't going to talk anymore and they could talk to his lawyer. Well, guess what? Since then, he has no lawyer. She dropped him for some sort of conflict of interest that we don't know the details of. So, for some reason, even though this man has no legal counsel, Box Elder is still not going in and questioning him about what's going on with Dylan. Why? You can't even go in there and ask one question? At least maybe make a simple attempt? What are you guys getting paid for? Another bombshell that Candace dropped is that Dylan's gun was actually found. And it was found inside of his camper. So let's go to May 31st, whenever Kurt called Candace with that fake hostage call about Dylan being held in Montello by Chase and Robert, which we all know was a damn lie. The very next day, on June 1st, is whenever the gun showed back up in Dylan's camper. According to Candace, there's a very small bathroom sink right outside of the toilet area of Dylan's camper. They also found his gun case there, completely empty, the same day that they found Dylan's boots. Now, the day of this crazy hostage call from Kurt, the family was at the RV and had actually cleaned that entire area so that his grandmother could use the bathroom. And there was nothing on the sink after they found the empty gun case the day before. Now, on June 1st, they go back and the gun is in the same place on the little bathroom sink as the empty gun case was. The clip is out and sitting next to it. When this happens, law enforcement comes in and they take photos of everything where the gun and the clip was found. And the very next day, on June the 2nd, whenever we already know that the key fob was found, is how we find the connection to this. Because all three items, the empty gun case, the gun with the clip out of it, and then the key fob, were found on three completely separate days and also in the exact same spot. And the fact that law enforcement took photos of the gun to show that the key fob was not there where it was found the very next day proves beyond anything that someone is up to some very shady bullshit. Now, Brenner is in jail, but it is on unrelated charges to what is going on with Dylan. Candace is now telling us that her and everyone that was there, law enforcement included, saw him removing at least 4 black trash bags full of who knows what out of the shed right in front of law enforcement as they're looking for Dylan. And they just let him throw these bags away like there wasn't a missing child being looked for right now. What the shit? This one isn't actually too big of a deal, other than the fact it shows that property that belonged to Dylan, there was an attempt to hide it. His actual phone was found in the Lucin Pond on June the 18th. Now, the only reason why this isn't that big of a deal is because Dylan's family is very smart. They cloned his entire phone not long after he went missing. So the only thing that finding the physical phone is good for is that possibly DNA or fingerprints could be taken off of it. But it was, from the verbiage that I am hearing, found at the bottom floor of the Lucin Pond. So for them to be able to get anything off of it, it is possible, but kind of unlikely at this point. Now, I am totally on track with the fact that other people could be involved, and there's a little bit more information that I have gathered from her new interviews. Let's just say some of these new details involve a horse and train tracks, and it kind of is reminding me of a Wild Wild West movie. I've got to take a minute and try to dissect what I'm hearing before I go further. The family has put a lot of fight into this. Law enforcement's really not doing a damn thing. They're the ones who have been reaching out to organizations like Heavy D Sparks, who came out and did the drone piloting, and EcuSearch, who donated the drone and its time. There's also people that Candace has reached out to that are experts in tire track markings. And it seems like she's in the same state of mind as I am, because I believe Dylan is in the wash. I made that clear in my first Dylan Rounds video. Now, she is the one who brought the tire tracks to my attention because they are mentioned in an interview and then seen in the Heavy D video. And since they don't have casts, they only have the video and the photos they were able to get. But these experts are stating that the tire tracks are pretty much a match. All we can hope at this point is that someone talks, and the best person to actually speak some truth at this point would be James Brenner. I feel like if not all, then most of the answers do lay with him. Now, Candace and Justin and the entire family, they do have a $100,000 reward out for any information that will lead to actually finding Dylan and bringing him home to the family. And if you are also not a new viewer, you know that this channel does monthly donations with their YouTube ad revenue. This month, I'm going to be able to donate $197, so I'm going to round it up to $200. I think I'm going to actually donate it over to the EquiSearch teams. Now, I am in Texas, and there is an EquiSearch Texas, but Midwest EquiSearch is the one that's been helping Dylan Rounds' family so much in this situation. So I am going to split the donation, and I'm going to send 100 over to the Texas EquiSearch, and I'm going to send 100 over to the Midwest. You know damn well I'll be posting my receipts.